The Maxava failover functionality is a component of the role swap. The difference between failover and role swap is that role swap is run when there are two machines available and the roles are swapping in a controlled manner. The failover is used when the production system is no longer available and the opposite system needs to be turned into the primary immediately. So in this case here, I performed a role swap earlier, but I didn't swap the roles back. I'm going to use failover to change the roles. So this is now the current target system for data. The mx failover command will allow me to turn this into a primary, so turn to a primary system. The same requirements are needed for failover as role swap. The configs must be the same on both sides. They must have the same details, and the cluster tables must be defined, which must already exist for the role swap. So I'm going to change this configuration to a primary configuration using the mx failover command. Now, when the opposite system would become available, it was the old primary. So again, we would have to force that into being a backup. So instead of using the to primary option, I'm going to use it to be a backup. And the name of the production system so the failover has completed on the opposite system. It's now become a primary environment. My users and applications can now start running on the system. If I look at the Maxava work replication, I can see that the data config is now back in white, which is indicating a primary. On the opposite system, my request has completed to turn this into a backup configuration. And if I look at the MX work replication screen, it's now indicating that it's a backup type. Again, failover will only be used when the production system is not available and you need to start running on the target. You need to run the failover process on the configurations to turn them over to primary type before you can start using the system to access things like triggers and constraints, and certain table functionality is invoked through the Maxava command to allow the database to run as a proper primary environment. Recovering from a failover, turning the config into a backup is only part of the task. Depending on how long the system was down for, if there was any data corruption or any data loss, a recovery after failover may require a resync of the database before the configuration can actually start replicating again. Failover recovery would have to be based on a case-by-case process.